So hello class. Today we're going to continue our discussion on the natural hazards present in the state of California, in particular how they relate to earthquakes. As you all know from our lecture earlier, geologists combine a plethora of different information about earthquakes in a general area, and they combine that information such as loose sediment, rocks, soil, and they combine that information into a number of risk categories, and they try to map that on one continuous map. In this exercise, we're going to construct our own maps of a geologic area in the state of California, which is Napa County. And we're going to start with statement of a problem. How can maps of earthquake-related hazards be used to determine the areas of greatest risk within that geographic area? All right, we're going to look at that. I would ask you all to open your books to page 144 and look at the four maps that are on those pages. As you can see from what I've got up here on the screen, I've put a finished map on the screen that would show you the four hazards that we're going to be looking at. Actually, 3 hazards and 2 historical hazards. Okay, so we actually have 5 things we're going to map. The materials we're going to need to use are colored pencils, a metric ruler, tracing paper. You can or can't use masking tape, it doesn't really matter. And we have these photocopies of the geologic maps. We have one for active faults and historic earthquakes, another for the shaking potential, another for liquefaction hazards, and the last one is the landslide hazards. We learned about all of these during our lecture, and today we're going to use all these hazards to construct our own map like the one you see up here. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do, now that everybody has their tracing paper, is to title your map at the top of the tracing paper. You may title it something along the lines of Natural Hazards of Napa County, Natural Earthquake Hazards of Napa County. That would be just fine. And then what I also want you to do is, you see on the top of my map, I have an area that will serve as your key. So the first thing after titling your map and leaving an area for your key, we're going to fill in the key with the types of data that you have. And those types of data are the following. Active faults, and you may want to represent them with a circle with a dot in the middle. And I will actually pop this on the Elmo to let you guys see what that looks like. Okay? As you can see from the map, we have an area, we have a historic quake here, we have fault lines here, and so the first thing I want you to do when you get your map is trace the landmarks. Just like when we were kids, you're able to trace, when you trace something, you always want to trace it so you have a reference point. Our reference point on this map is going to be the border of the county. That's this black line here. We'll also use the highway signs. We can even use landmarks such as the Lake Berryessa or the dam at Lake Berryessa. And then as other landmarks, you're going to want to detail the cities and plot those cities on your map. Okay? The next step in our map making process is to go ahead and begin to plot the faults. On this map, it'll be the faults and the historic earthquakes. When you're done with that, you will want to start with the liquefaction hazard. And the liquefaction hazard, as you can see, is this light area of red. Maybe hard to trace, but I think you'll find that you can get those. If you do that in the second step, you won't have the distractions of the other things you're tracing. Thirdly, you'll want to map out the geographic landslides. Those are the areas in dark red. Now keep in mind that each time you're using or documenting a hazard on the map, you'll want to use a different color and or symbol and then represent that in your key. For the last hazard, we're going to do, you're going to document the shaking potential. And I'm going to try to move this up a little bit so that you can see on the bottom of the map, and this is the only area I want you to do, this hot red area. You're going to want to trace that and document that on your map. And when you're done, you should end up with a product that looks like this. And as you can see, I've mapped out the liquefaction hazard, the landslide hazard, historic earthquakes, faults, and down here, shaking potential. That's what you see in brown. So I've used orange for the liquefaction, red for the landslides, black to document the historic quakes, green for the fault lines, and brown for shaking potential. So if you can, I would like for you to, I want to just sum it up by showing you the map, okay? If anybody needs to look at this map, you can come up here, take a look at the map, see what things are supposed to look like, and then take off and start tracing. Have a wonderful exercise.